Ever since I first saw it, an off-the-mark cartoon by Mark Parisi has been sitting on my desk. It features a shiny new box of sand, the color of blue sky, like all possibilities ahead. Looking out the window at children playing outside, it thinks to itself, "I'm a sandbox. I'll be full of fun and joy." But sure enough, coming around the bend is a cat, about to reveal that the box is in fact a litter box, not a sandbox after all, or at least a sandbox of a very different kind. I love that cartoon. Like so much humor, it points out the uncomfortable truth of real life, and it does so in metaphor. In this case, it reveals how often we think we know exactly who we are and where our life is going. We might even think the same of our congregation, that we can predict the shape and destiny of our work together. But life will always surprise us in both delightful and deeply challenging ways. Try as we might, and believe what we will, the possibilities life holds for us go far beyond our imaginations in both joyful and sorrowful directions. You might say that the possibilities are endless, in the sense that the complete mystery of life will always be beyond our grasp, while at the same time it will always hold infinite depths of meaning and potential for love. To paraphrase the transcendentalist writer Walt Whitman, we contain multitudes. Each of us is marvelously complex, perhaps more than we realize ourselves. We are not so simple, we sandboxes. We contain multitudes of feelings, experiences, influences, motivations, and also potentials and possibilities at no matter what stage of life we find ourselves. When we combine these personal multitudes with each other, we come up with an infinite variety of interesting combinations, and in a community like ours, that is always changing. Today, we welcomed several new members into our congregation. A congregation is a living and breathing, ever-changing and evolving creative thing. As Reverend Sean likes to say, it's a little loving laboratory of the human spirit. In such a place, so much can happen, so much will happen. Knowing that we contain so much multiplicity, how can we live in such a way that we can receive and hold all of life and use it in a good and hopeful way for the benefit of all? How can we preserve the hope and optimism of that sandbox, while knowing that life will bring us so many things we would not have wished for and cannot control? Many years ago, this point was made by the philosopher Aldous Huxley, whose outlook was distinctly universalist in tone. "Human beings are immensely complicated creatures," he wrote, "living simultaneously in half dozen different worlds. Each individual is unique and in a number of respects unlike all other members of the species. None of our motives is unmixed. None of our actions can be traced back to a single source. And in any group we care to study, behavior patterns that are observably similar may be the result of many constellations of dissimilar causes. These constellations within us guide us in so many ways. They influence the way we see other people and interact with each other to a greater degree than we realize." You may have heard the story about two travelers coming to a town for the first time and asking a wise elder who they might expect to find there. "Hello there," the first traveler asks. "I've never been to the town of possibility before. What are the people like there?" "Well," responds the wise elder, "what were the people like in your home city?" "Oh, they were terrible, mean-spirited, judgmental, very difficult to get along with." "I'm really sorry to hear that," the wise elder responds. "You'll find that the people up ahead are exactly the same." Before long, another traveler comes by and asks the same question. "What kind of people are they who live in possibility, the town up ahead?" Well, how did you find the people of your home city? Oh, they were kind and good people, loving, ethical, and compassionate. The elder's response: you will find the people up ahead are just the same. As I read that classic story, it occurs to me that the elder might have asked, did you happen to belong to a Unitarian congregation in your home city? Because this foundational outlook on human beings is woven not only into our first principle, but at least the first three: the inherent worth and dignity of every person, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, acceptance of one another, and encouragement to spiritual growth. In addition, our seventh principle affirms our interdependence not only with each other, but with all living things. And our proposed eighth principle aspires to create a framework for effective anti-racism and anti-oppression work. Now, there is the distinct possibility, if not perhaps the likelihood, that guided by these principles, we would always look for the best in others and ourselves. We're a sandbox. We'll be full of love and joy, and, well, maybe not always. Let's take a show of hands. How many of you have ever made a negative judgment about someone, thinking that they had selfish motivations, or making an assumption about their character, only to find out later that you were completely mistaken? And now let's try the reverse. How many of you have had other people assume incorrect and negative things about you? I think that's pretty much everybody. The multitudes within us, the complexities of our lives, are seldom apparent on the surface. We make judgments about each other all the time, and we are often wrong. Another way to imagine this is that everyone is an iceberg with only the tip showing. From our very separate viewpoints, that is, views from particular points, we may seem very far apart. But when you take the time to travel down the iceberg, to find out what is underneath the surface of each of us, we discover that we are deeply and inextricably connected. We are intertwined in the interdependent web of existence which we hold with such reverence and awe, and which we seek to love and protect through our lives and our actions. Given the particularities of our lives and our stories, the specific frames of reference that each of us live within, mirrored even on the particular points of view on this Zoom screen, well, it makes sense that we do not know each other as well as we might think we do. And how about ourselves? Do we hold possibilities and potentials within ourselves of which we may not be aware? Well, of course we do. In addition to the aspects of our lives that we know about, and the persona or self-image that we present to the world, there are depths within us that are obscured not only from each other, but also unconscious to ourselves. In Jungian terms, some of this is called the shadow, that is, the parts of ourselves that we do not acknowledge nor accept. Each of us has our shadow side, and if we wonder what it's like, we might look at what irritates us most in other people. That is the you spot it, you got it phenomenon. Organizations may have their shadow side as well. For example, the unconscious flip side of any community that aspires to be radically inclusive may be its innate capacity to reject and exclude. Thinking back to the cartoon that we discussed earlier, we can imagine that the cat coming around the corner is in fact the shadow of that sunny Pollyanna of a sandbox. While it may not bring something that is pretty or nice, the cat can provide earthiness and grounding. It can bring the sandbox into the realm of the real, with all the smelly, messy, difficult bits of life that life will bring us all. It's not easy to come to terms with all the possibilities that life holds for us, whether they arrive in the form of circumstances from the outside or the stranger within us who unexpectedly shows up. Yet the safe container of a caring community can make it easier. At First Unitarian, our journey groups and other small circles are based on the concept of circles of trust, taught by Parker J. Palmer, who is a Quaker. In his book, A Hidden Wholeness, The Journey Toward an Undivided Life, he writes that the soul is shy, that all people need to feel safety and belonging before they, that is, we, can show up in our full humanity, to open-heartedly meet the parts of ourselves that we may not want to see. The humanistic psychologist Carl Rogers called this unconditional positive regard, the ability to offer acceptance and support to anyone in order to create the conditions whereby they can grow and heal. Recently, I saw this demonstrated in a film called The Wisdom of Trauma. In it, Dr. Gabor Mate cares for people who passed along their own childhood traumas in acts of violence or abuse until they were able to heal those wounds in an atmosphere of care and respect. In this very moving film, Mate makes clear that people's harmful behavior often springs from wounds that go back generations, and that healing those wounds starts first with unconditional loving regard. It's also clear from the film that each person's story is far more complex than anyone can see from the outside. That is, we contain multitudes. If we behold the beauty of human life with the reverence of the mystics, we might encounter every conversation with each other as a meeting with the divine, a meeting with the holy mystery, which is always beyond our complete understanding, yet continually inviting us into loving relationship. This attitude of humility, reverence, and curiosity prevents us from falling into us and them judgments, of rejecting others because they, in some view, have somehow fallen short. Our hope in the continual task of spiritual growth that is the human journey is that we might nurture and cultivate that attitude, perhaps against all odds, that we might maintain our connection to the loving, open, and receptive spirit that we saw on the face of that sky blue sandbox, even when we discover parts of ourselves that we would rather not find or experience the most painful and challenging aspects of life. Our hope is that we might come to love where we're at, even if it's a place that we would not have expected to be or would not have chosen. That we might come to love who we are, warts and all, in the deep acceptance of unconditional love that can be channeled through healthy religious or spiritual community. To paraphrase a text from UUism's Christian heritage, wherever two or more are gathered in mutual support, the source of love is there. Healthy religious communities strengthen our connection with Source, God, Spirit, or being itself, helping us find meaning even in the most difficult of circumstances. Indeed, sometimes that connection with deeper wisdom can give rise to art, and sometimes even to humor, helping us hold our entire lives in the light of love. In circles like the one that we expand today, we can provide care to one another that enables healing and transformation. As we sang earlier in the service, break not the circle of enabling love, where people grow, forgiven and forgiving. Break not that circle, make it wider still, till it includes, embraces all the living. Where people grow, forgiven and forgiving. Where we receive ourselves and others in all our multiplicities, requiring not perfection, but rather inviting real presence. Keeping our doors open, knowing that they will blow shut from time to time in the winds of circumstance, but then opening them again and again and again. As the stories of our lives continue to unfold in beauty and in humor, and sometimes in the deepest of pain, may the possibilities before us, whatever they may be, bring us more deeply into relationship with life, spirit, and each other. May we meet all that is eternally unfolding in faith, hope, and love. Amen.